Welcome to SoundTube Entertainment's video tutorial series. Today we will be walking through how to set up a complete restaurant system using the feature-rich IPD-Hub 2 DSP amplifier. The IPD-Hub 2 provides for a fully IP-based PoE system that can compete with the cost and exceed the performance of a conventional 70 or 100 volt distributed audio system. The same principles highlighted in this video can be applied to many different applications. It is not necessarily restaurant specific. At the end of the video, you will possess the knowledge necessary to build out a fully networked audio system in nearly any installation by using the IPD-Hub 2 DSP amplifier. This tutorial operates with the expectation that viewers are already familiar with the basics of the IPD-Hub 2 and know how to set it up in software. Please see our Introduction to the IPD-Hub 2 webinar training video before continuing on through this video should you be unfamiliar with the IPD-Hub 2. Today's walkthrough will focus primarily on how to set up the IPD-Hub 2 system within software, but it will also show core components of how to wire the system physically. We will be using the SoundTube STNet Control Center software for device setup and configuration, and Audinate's Dante Controller software for routing audio throughout the system. Here is an overview of the complete restaurant system we will be constructing. It is broken out into 5 zones: kitchen, bar, lobby or hostess, private event room, and dining area. Each zone contains one IPD-Hub 2 amplifier, 2 or more SoundTube CM42 EZS ceiling speakers, and one SoundTube RVC1 remote volume control. The dining area zone contains an additional IPD-Hub 2 amplifier, as well as an IPD-Hub 2 extender box, which is paired with an RDL Format A sender for local audio input throughout the space. The private event room also contains an RDL Format A sender for local audio input in that space. The system as a whole is tied together through Dante infrastructure. Each IPD-Hub 2 is wired with an Ethernet cable home run to the SoundTube STNet Switch II, which is a 16-port audio quality PoE switch. In this case, a centralized laptop is used to send audio across the Dante network to each IPD-Hub 2 in the system, but you could also use a dedicated streaming device, media player, or other source. We will start with the kitchen zone. First, we will connect an IPD-Hub 2 to the switch using an Ethernet cable. Once connected, we will see in the SoundTube STNet Control Center software that the device is appearing in the device list. We can then switch over to Dante Controller, click on the Device Info tab, double-click our new device, and then click Device Config. Here we can rename the device so that it's easier to keep track of each one as more are added. Now that we've changed the name, we can go back into the STNet Control Center software and refresh the device list. We're now ready to wire our first set of speakers. Each IPD-Hub 2 amplifier has 2 8-ohm speaker outputs, meaning you can wire 2 8-ohm speakers to it or 4 16-ohm speakers. SoundTube speakers are preset to their maximum 70-volt tap setting out of the box. This means that you must change the tap setting to the 8-ohm or 16-ohm bypass position. The SoundTube CM42 EZS ceiling speakers are 16-ohm speakers, meaning you can use up to 4 of them on each IPD-Hub 2. Speakers will wire just like traditional speakers with a traditional amp: positive to positive, negative to negative. We will put one speaker on output channel 1 and one speaker on output channel 2. Here you can see the output connections on the IPD-Hub 2. Channel 1 and channel 2, each with a positive and negative. Once our speakers are wired, we can use the IPD-Hub 2's built-in pink noise generator to test our connections. Be careful, the default level is rather loud. Everything sounds good, so we know our connections are secure. We're now ready to move over to the DSP Setup tab. First, we will check Enable Channel Link, which will join output channel 1 and channel 2 so we can configure them as one. Under the Quick Mix section, under Remote Sources, we have Dante RX1 selected. This is our whole house music, which will be coming over the Dante network from the laptop. Under Paging Priority, we have Dante RX2 channel selected, which will be our paging audio, from the secondary Dante input. We save this as our default preset, which will be our power on default in the event of a power loss or system reboot. Now in the Amp Setup tab, we'll calibrate our remote volume control. Upon clicking Calibrate, the software ensures that you have the RVC installed. The SoundTube RVC1 connects directly to the IPD-Hub 2's yellow input or control port using a standard network cable. It's marked with an output on the back of the RVC. Once connected, we can proceed. The first step is turning the RVC fully clockwise to the maximum volume position. Next, we'll turn the RVC fully counterclockwise to the minimum volume position. Our RVC is now calibrated, and we're ready to assign it to an amp output channel. There are three options: amp output 1, amp output 2, or both. Here, we'll select both. Now we must click Save Settings at the top of the window. This will allow us to save all settings and configuration made under the Amp Setup tab. Once we've saved, we can go back over to Dante Controller and establish our audio routes. We will be sending audio directly from the laptop through the Avio USB device to our IPD-Hub 2's Receive Channel 1, marked Out Channel 1. Our paging audio will come from the Dante wall plate directly to the Hub 2's Out Channel 2. We're now ready to move on to the bar zone. First, we will start by hooking up a second IPD-Hub 2. Once connected, we can go back into Dante Controller, go to the Device Info tab, double-click our device, and rename it just like we did for the kitchen IPD-Hub 2. This one we will name IPD-Hub 2 Bar so that we can keep it consistent. Once we've properly renamed the device, we can refresh the device list in STNet Control Center. For the sake of the video, we will not be wiring any further speakers. Instead, we will move straight into the DSP setup. First, we enable our channel link just like before. We confirm that our quick mix remote source and our paging priority remote source are properly checked, just like they were in the kitchen zone. And then we will save this as our default preset. Now that we've saved, we'll move over to the Amp Setup tab, and we'll hook up our RVC. Just like before, it will connect with a standard network cable from the RVC output connection to the yellow control and local input port on the IPD-Hub 2. Back in the software, we'll proceed with the calibration, turning fully clockwise, then fully counterclockwise, and then we will save the calibration. Now we must choose which amp channel the RVC is linked to. Again, we will choose amp channel 1 and 2 because we have two speakers connected to this IPD-Hub 2. We're now ready to save our settings. Back in the Dante Controller software, we will now reestablish our audio routes. Once again, we are sending whole house music from the laptop via the Avio USB device to our IPD-Hub 2 receiver's output channel 1. We will send paging audio from the Dante wall plate to our Hub 2's output channel 2, just like the kitchen zone. We're now ready to set up the lobby and hostess zone. Just like before, we will connect another IPD-Hub 2 to our network switch. Once connected, we will again rename the device. Under Device Info, we'll double-click our new device, go into the Device Config tab, and then rename it to something appropriate for the zone. This one will be called IPD-Hub 2 Hostess. Once renamed, we can go back to the STNet Control Center software, refresh our device list, and open the configuration page for the new IPD-Hub 2 Hostess device. First, we will once again check Enable Channel Link so we can configure both output channels as one. We will ensure that under Quick Mix, our proper remote source is selected, and under Paging Priority, our proper remote source is also selected. They are the same as the previous two zones. Then we will save the preset as the default. We'll reopen the configuration window and head over to the Amp Setup tab. This zone will not have a volume control, so we do not need to calibrate one. Back in the Dante Controller software, we will establish our audio paths. Again, we are sending audio from the Avio USB device or laptop to the IPD-Hub 2's output channel 1. We are sending Dante wall plate audio via the paging audio to output channel 2. We're now ready to set up the private event room. Just like before, we will connect another IPD-Hub 2 amplifier to our switch. Once connected, we will again rename the device. This one we will call IPD-Hub 2 Event. Once we've properly renamed the device, we can refresh our device list. Again, enable channel link, confirm that our quick mix and paging priority sources are correct, and save our presets as default. Now it'll be a little bit different. Because the private event room has a local audio input, we must add a preset. We will uncheck our remote source and change it to our input channel 1 under local sources. We'll keep paging the same and then save this as preset 1. Now we'll calibrate our RVC. This one's a little different. First, we plug our RVC in directly to the Hub 2 with the network cable going from the RVC's output connection to the yellow input port on the Hub 2, and then we will use an RDL Format A sender to pass our local audio through the RVC to the Hub 2. This requires use of a special cable provided with each Hub 2. We'll go through the calibration process like before, and then save the settings. With our calibration saved, we can link it to an output channel. Once again, we're going to link it to both outputs. Next, we will check the Enable Preset Select option. It's already set to preset 1. This means that we can use the RVC's A/B toggle switch to switch between presets. In other words, to switch from the whole house music coming from Dante to the local audio connected to our input device. Now back in the Dante controller, we will set up our audio flows just like we did before. Avio USB to output channel 1, and our wall plate paging audio to output channel 2. We're now ready to set up our dining area. This area will have two IPD-Hub 2s, so we'll start by connecting the first one. Once connected, we will again rename the device within Dante Controller by double-clicking it, going to Device Config, and giving it an appropriate name for the zone. We'll call this one IPD-Hub 2 Dining 1. Once we've renamed our device, we can go back to STNet Control Center and refresh the device list. We'll open the configuration window for the Dining 1 device, enable our channel link, confirm that our quick mix and paging priority sources are appropriate just like they were before, and save these presets as default. This area will also have a local input, so we want to set a preset for that. We'll uncheck our remote source, and we'll check local source 1, just like before. We'll save this as preset 1. Now in the Amp Setup tab, we're ready to calibrate our RVC. This one's a little different. We're going to be using the IPD-Hub 2 extender box to send our audio to both of the Hub 2s in this zone. We do that by connecting the RVC to the main in port on the extender box, and then connecting the main out port to the local input port on the primary IPD-Hub 2, which is our Dining 1 device. We then calibrate the RVC as normal. Next, we assign the RVC to both amp outputs. Here we will select this IPD-Hub 2 as Zone 1. We will check the preset select box and keep it on preset 1 to allow us to toggle between remote and local audio. We will now save our settings. Now we will again set up our audio routing. Again, the Avio USB device going to the output channel 1 and the Dante wall plate going to output channel 2. We can now connect our second IPD-Hub 2 in the dining area zone. Just like before, we'll plug it in with a standard network cable. Once connected, we will rename this second device. This one will be called IPD-Hub 2 Dining 2. Once renamed, we'll return to STNet Control Center, refresh the device list, and open the configuration window for our Dining 2 device. We'll enable our channel link, confirm that our quick mix and paging priority sources are correct as they were before, and then we'll save it as the default preset. We now want to set the preset to be the same as the previous Hub 2 in the dining zone. We'll uncheck Remote Source 1 and check Local Input Source 1. We'll save it as preset 1. Under the Amp Setup tab, we do not need to calibrate an RVC. We will be using the calibration and the RVC already connected to the Dining 1 device. To connect it to our new device, we will connect a network cable to one of the output channels of the Hub 2 extender box to the yellow input port on the secondary Hub 2. We will now connect our Bluetooth input device to the RVC, just like before with the special adapter cable provided by SoundTube with each IPD-Hub 2. We can play Bluetooth in that area now as well. We will go into our zone assignment and assign this one to Zone 1 as well. We will enable preset select and leave it on preset 1 just like before. We now can send audio to both of the IPD-Hub 2s using only one input device and one RVC. We'll now go into the routing of Dante Controller and set our final audio paths. Just like before, the Avio USB to output channel 1 and Dante wall plate to output channel 2. We've now configured the entirety of the restaurant system. Across the 5 zones, we can play whole house audio or music directly from the laptop through the Avio USB device. This audio can be ducked out at any time by using the paging function through the Dante wall plate. Additionally, we have remote volume controls set up in the kitchen, bar, private event room, and dining area zones. This allows for independent control of our whole house audio. The level of our paging audio in any given zone will be unaffected by adjustment of the RVC in that given zone. We also have two local audio input devices within this system, one in the private event room and one in the dining area, which sends audio to both of the IPD-Hub 2 amplifiers in the dining area. These two input devices are both Bluetooth-enabled wall plates, which will allow users to connect directly to them with their own source devices and pass audio directly to the IPD-Hub 2 that those devices are connected to. This can be done by adjusting the toggle switch on the RVC to its B position, which will activate the preset that we chose under the preset select. We chose preset 1, which will switch it from our remote source Dante audio or whole house music to our local input, which will be the Bluetooth input device. You now know how to set up a complete restaurant system using the powerful and feature-rich IPD-Hub 2 DSP amplifier. These same principles can be applied to many different applications and installations, not just restaurants. For more information, please visit SoundTube.com, and for help with specific applications, please contact sales@mseaudio.com or tech support@mseaudio.com. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.